Welcome back, and today we're going to be reviewing the brand new Kansept Nahual. Guess that's how you say it. Sorry if I'm butchering it. That is the designer on this one, and I think this is the first design I've had from him at least. It's a medium-sized EDC knife at 7.02 inches with a 2.96 inch, I don't know, you could call it, I guess, a modified harpoon snub nose sheep's foot. Call it whatever you want, but it's a rather interesting one. You got a blunted nose right there, little top swedge for some flare. Nice raw stone wash on this particular variant. You do have some jimping. It does give you some traction, but I love seeing these like harpoonage right here because it really locks you in. You can kind of put your thumb up against the spot that starts to go up. It's nice and comfortable. You do have a forward finger choil or just an oversized sharpening choil depending on where your finger lands, but they did a great job with that. It doesn't start to flare out to about right there. You're gonna have pretty much the life of this knife to sharpen this one up before you have to worry about anything at all. It's gonna be a pretty darn versatile blade shape because you have some belly, so you can make cuts on flat cutting surface and get about a little over 3/4 of the blade to about right here on a flat cutting surface before you contact these scales. Then you can also do some intricate detail work, and you can get a lot of pressure down onto your cut if you had to do a drag cut through some thick materials or something, or lighten it up and do some very fine intricate stuff. Also, doing in-hand cuts is going to be great because your belly's not too crazy. You shouldn't easily slide out of the cut or anything toward the end. And I don't know if this is the first knife they've used it on, but I know for a fact this is the first Kansept I've gotten that is in CPM MagnaCut steel. So I was definitely interested to see how they did, how it sharpens up, how it performs. We'll check out the performance in just a second. You have a pretty stout blade stock thickness at 0.14 inches and a flat grind that comes down to around 18 thousandths behind the edge. So as long as it's got a sharp edge, it should be a great slicer. Let's find out. As soon as I got this one and realized it was a MagnaCut, I was super excited to do some testing with it. And it came sharp. It's slicing very well. And this is one task that this one's really going to shine at, along with doing detail work with that tip. Should be a fairly powerful cutter because you got close to a straight edge. I mean, you got a little bit of belly. That's going to make it a very versatile blade shape. And just want to make sure nothing crazy happens with this MagnaCut blade, that making sure it's got a proper heat treat. Now we're testing the ergos, and we start out with light pressure, start to increase more and more just to make sure nothing is poking me, prodding me, and it's comfortable. I'm able to get a lot of pressure into the wood, and it's all going to depend on your hand size, but my medium-sized hands, it's nice and comfortable. That first piece was a little bit of glue in there, so it might have looked like it's struggling, but as you see, that second piece, it went through it rather easily. And even though I would usually pull it up on a block, this one had, I would say, just that borderline amount of belly to where I can do it on a flat cutting surface. Would it have been easier? Sure, because if you look really close, whenever your hands tilted up some to cut down onto the material, you're getting about that forward half of the blade onto the cutting surface, which is fine. You can get it done, but it would make it a lot easier if it was pulled up on a block. But I'm just wanting to show you that it's doable here, and it's not bad. It's going through the Cicero pretty good. One thing I've noticed with a lot of Kansepts that I've tested is that the second and third sharpening is whenever I really get max performance out of the steel. So if you're not happy with the blade you get initially, give it a couple of sharpenings and then see where you're at, and usually that's where you'll see your max edge retention. I noticed right away after I sharpened this one, it got better. Even better each time, that's what I meant to say. It passed through all the disc materials very nicely, and these are all stuff that it performed really well. I was really happy with the performance on this one, and like I said, after I sharpened it up, even happier. So good job. Hopefully we see more steels come through Kansept. Well, I'm not exactly sure what the HRC is on this one, but I wasn't expecting a whole lot, being that this was the first time that we're seeing them use this steel, but came nice and sharp. It performed great. I sharpened it up when I was done. It sharpened up very easily. It deburred very easily. I've sharpened quite a bit of MagnaCut now, and it's a pretty easy steel to sharpen, especially if you're sharpening with diamond stones. You shouldn't have any issues whatsoever. I usually maintain them on a ceramic rod, drop it up in between use, and you can get quite a bit of use out of the knife. Now let's close it up. Take a look at the deployment on this one. So you have a crossbar lock creating the detent. This is an adjustable crossbar lock. You have 3 tension holes in there, so if you want to increase it by 1 or decrease it by 1, you can. We have a accessible blade hole on both sides. You can reverse flick if you want. You can slow roll it if you want. You can do the drop down if you like. Thumb flick if you like. You use the crossbar to deploy it. You got a fairly stout blade, so once it starts coming around, those ceramic cage bearings take over and it's nice and smooth. You release that lock, it's a free dropper, of course. I will say the reverse flick is probably the easiest, most intuitive way to deploy it. Even though, you know, the slow roll's nice as well and the drop down's good, I just find I can get a nice quick deployment with the reverse flick. Thumb flick I can too. It's just not as easy as the reverse flick in my opinion. Just the way this one's set up, the heft of that blade, your tension from the crossbar lock is good, so it does allow it to come out nice and fast. I have not taken this one apart or anything. I'm sure once I do that and put my own lube in it, it's probably going to be even smoother than it already is. Now let's touch on the ergos real quick. Anytime I was doing in-hand cuts, I was always sitting in that forward choil area. Now, it's not a huge forward choil. If you got fat sausage fingers, you're probably not going to be able to completely fit in there. A lot of times I was either sitting like right at the back portion right there when I had gloves on, even though, like, you know, if I don't have gloves on, you just got to be careful. You could sit right on top of this if you're worried about that, or do like a trigger finger grip right here as well. In this choke back position, I still get a 4-finger grip in my medium-sized hands. And then this little scoop right here is beautiful. Love it, nice and comfortable. The pinch grip is where it's at on this one though. You can really manipulate that tip really easily, and it's nice and comfortable. If you want to do the reverse pull grip, it's fairly comfortable. Even though this is kind of sitting inside my hand right there, it's not bad. I can choke up behind that if I want, and I can get a good bit of leverage. You just got to be careful that you don't fall into here. And anytime you choke back, you're just sitting a good ways away from that edge. So you got to be conscious that you don't land in there before trying to start your cut. The reverse grip, I can cram my fingers in the front right there, and it's okay. This comes up a little higher, but it is rounded over, so I can still do that if I want. Not the best blade shape to be doing that. You know, I don't know how well you can be able to stab into anything. But nice and smooth, nice and snappy, especially for how chunky this blade is. I think there's 3 different variations of this one. The one you see here, I think there's a Damascus version with copper foiled carbon fiber, and then there's a black washed, I think, MagnaCut bladed version with, I think, blue carbon fiber. Let's close it up, take a look at this one. So you have the gold hardware. I'm pretty sure that's just stainless that they dye. You also have a gold crossbar lock and a gold stop pin. I was surprised to see that. You have a titanium bolster. They did a great job of fitting up the bolster with the carbon fiber. I'm closing my eyes. I can't tell you where one starts and one stops. And you have kind of like a crushed carbon fiber, or whatever they call it, forged or marble, whatever the name is for this one. I will say I did have to oil this up because it was a little chalky looking, ashy looking, because it was dried out. I don't see any major voids or anything. That's always a nice thing. Nice crisp Torx TA construction throughout. You have a tie backspacer with an integrated lanyard loop. Did a good job of knocking off the edges here. You got nice contouring on these scales, and they knocked off any hard edges by putting a chamfer all the way around. And we have a contoured mill tie pocket clip. Unfortunately, it's tip up right hand carry only, which I don't really understand, being that you have an ambidextrous lock and a blade hole that you can access on both sides. That was a miss in my opinion. This one does carry well in the pocket. All you have is that sticking out. So your lanyard's sitting above the seam if you do carry it with a lanyard. You got good spring to it, enough tension to hold it nicely with this smooth carbon fiber. Now it is a pocket haul because it is pretty wide in the pocket. You have a decent bit of pocketing in there to bring down the weight as much as they could. And as you see, the only stainless you have is to house the crossbar lock. However, you got pretty thick blade stock with a pretty chunky blade, so it's still going to be a little chunky in the pocket, coming in at 4.05 ounces, but I think it's completely manageable. That doesn't bother me at all. Your lockup, this thing is a little chode, absolute little tank of a knife. I have no movement any direction, no up and down, no side to side, very tight lockup. Now for some quick size comparisons, it's dwarfed by the Ontario Rat 1, and it's just a hair shorter than the Ontario Rat 2. And it's a little shorter than the Spyderco Power 3, and it's pretty much identical in length to the Hogue Ritter Mini RSK. And it's very similar in length to the Kansept Pelican EDC, I think it is, and it's just a little longer than the Kansept Loki. And lastly, it's a little shorter than the Kansept Baku, and it's a little longer than the Kansept Carvid M. Now, since no knife's perfect, what are my nitpicks and complaints? There's no lefty love here, which in my opinion was a huge miss, being that you have the ambidextrous lock, blade hole, which is ambidextrous. It would have just made a lot more sense that way. And also, if you're going to put jimping, I think fine cut jimping is a lot more functional. It's going to grip a lot better. Not something I really care too much about, especially when you got the poonage. It locks you in really nicely there anyway. And lastly, the finger choil is not the biggest finger choil, so if you have fat sausage fingers, you may only be able to get a slight pistol grip there, or trigger grip, or just kind of straddle this portion right there. But all that said, what are my final thoughts? It's definitely a different looking knife. It's got a lot of versatility to that blade. I've enjoyed using it. I like that we're seeing Kansept try to use some different blade steels. I didn't expect them to be using CPM MagnaCut. Don't have to worry about this blade rusting, which is a big deal here in the South with our crazy humidity. I thought it performed well. The edge held up good, and it sharpened up really easily. It's got nice smooth action. It's comfortable. It may not be the knife for you if you have large, extra large hands, because I just get a 4-finger grip on here, but you know, you do have a lanyard spot, so if you need to have a thick lanyard to grab a hold to, you could, only if you're choked back. If you can choke up, you should, better fit large hands on there. No problem. Love to hear y'all thoughts on this design, and what do you think about Kansept using CPM MagnaCut steel? I have to try to find out what the HRC is on their MagnaCut, and hopefully we continue to see Kansept trying out different steels. I always love seeing that. So that's going to do it for today's video. If you're interested in picking up your own Kansept Nahual, we'll have it linked down below in the description. It will be an affiliate link, so if you want to help support what I do here in this channel, that helps me pay for my testing materials. I can't thank you enough. If not, no sweat at all. Just keep coming back. If you have any questions in particular for me, feel free to ask me down below, and I'll do my best to get back with you. I hope every single one of y'all is having a fantastic day today, and remember, keep these blades sharp. Smile more. Hey!